Johnny Cleveland Podcast. All things Cleveland sports with your host, John Suchan. And good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Johnny Cleveland Podcast. It is a late night, Saturday night edition of the show. We welcome you listening here to the Fanatical Elves Network, part of Fans First Sports Network. Let me get all my microphones and all that adjusted here. Oh, yes, it is a Saturday evening. Hope you're doing something fun tonight. And if you are a Cleveland fan, you might have just been watching the Cleveland Guardians or Indians beat the Kansas City Royals in beautiful Kansas City stadium there. If you ever get an opportunity to go to a ballpark outside of Cleveland, I would highly recommend going to the arena or the ballpark there in Kansas City. It's a fantastic place. Lived out there for many years, went to many games in Kansas City. Definitely when the Indians would be there in town. Yes, the Indians are getting another round of circulating of trying to get the name back. The president was calling for the Indians in Washington to have their original names or names that they've had in the past returned to them. The Washington Redskins, the Cleveland Indians. It was the hot topic earlier in the week. Not sure if it has much momentum at this point, but let me move my. Let's see here. But we'll keep you posted if we hear anything more. Obviously, as a lifetime fan like you, most of us miss the Indians' name. I'm sure many of you do. There were reasons for that change, but it is what it is. And the Guardians split a doubleheader today. They should have swept the doubleheader. Some of you Cleveland fans will probably note that right away because they had the lead in the 10th inning, the extra innings, and they brought in Clase, who blew it, gave up a 3-run homer in the first game of the double header. Their game yesterday was rained out. So that sucked. But then this evening on national TV, Fox TV, they came back and won the game 6-4, thanks to a home run by Stevie Kwan. A couple other guys stepped up. And lo and behold, the Guardians are only 7 games back of the Detroit Tigers, who are falling apart. Who would have thunk it? They were 14 games on top of the American League Central 2 weeks ago, and now they have lost a bazillion in a row, and Cleveland has won 12 of their last 14 or 15. Great stuff. Cleveland Guardians, American League Conference Championship Series last year, lost. Fox News, Fox Sports guys are giving our Cleveland team a real good opportunity. And man, you start looking at this Guardians schedule coming up. They've got a few more games against the Royals. I was looking at this before we came on air. They've got they've got the Royals. They have teams like the Colorado Rockies on there coming up. They play teams like the Atlanta Braves. They've got the Mets on there. Mets are doing relatively well. Mix in the Minnesota Twins, who have been struggling. And before you know it, you get to September, and the Guards play the Tigers twice in that period. They got three away and 3 home in September. Interesting. The Guardians finished the regular season with 13 out of their last 18 games at home. Included in that is a 3-game to end the season. They finished with 6 at home, which includes the Tigers first and finally the Texas the Texas Rangers, who are also vying for a playoff spot. The Guardians are only 3 games back of a playoff spot right now. And like I said earlier, they're only 7 games back of the Tigers. Tigers are feeling it, and the Guardians, who have played well and have some veteran presence, are making a move. So let's see if they can continue to get this rolling. I was disappointed with the Clase again. Clase just, uh, he gives up a game winner 3-run bomb, but they come back and win the second game of the nightcap. So good job to Cleveland. We'll see what happens tomorrow in Kansas City. And again, if you get an opportunity, go out there to Kansas City, catch the game. They have the water fountains out there, just phenomenal. It's right off the highway. Many of you have driven the I-70 route. You'll go right past the Arrowhead Stadium for the football team and Royal Stadium for the baseball team. It's really a great view, and something that I think as a fan you should, especially if you're a baseball fan, got to catch a game in Kansas City. So let's pause here for a quick commercial break. This is the Johnny Cleveland podcast. Hey, and thanks for coming back here to the show. Hope you again are having a great Saturday night. Well, we just had a series of this whole summer here in Ohio has just been wet, wet, wetter than normal. I've lived back here in Ohio for the last 7 or 8 years. Grew up here in Ohio. This summer here in Columbus has just been one system after another of rain, and this week and these last couple of days it's been so humid again. In the 90s, it said it felt like 105 degrees with the humidity. And again tonight we had a series of storms that rumbled through, knocked out our power here at our humble abode here, of the Johnny Cleveland family. So it did pop back on. So we have everything's working. Thus, we're doing the live broadcast of the Johnny Cleveland show. Want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Hemisphere Coffee Roasters. They shake the hand of the farmer. Check them out. The link to their great coffee is on our X page. You buy their coffee, you're contributing 15% to our Fanatical Elves network. If you have comments and you want to participate live right now, I'd love for you to comment about what we just talked about with the guards. We're going to talk about the brownies here right now. If you have thoughts on what I am talking about this evening, I love to interact with you that way. So check us out if you're on the X, if you're on Facebook, if you are on YouTube. Send us a question or a response to what I have in store for you next, because I have always a lot of opinions. Here on the Fanatical Elves, I am not the most logical thinking member of the team. I tend to be a little bit more irrational than some. By the way, check out, speaking of not being or being more sane, Steve Gill, our contributor at the Dog Pound South show. He'll have a show tomorrow, Sunday. So stay tuned for that. Also, the Burning River Browns talk. I know Lou and Sherry just did a show the other night. So that show will be coming out, the audio version, later this evening. So stay tuned for that. If you haven't listened to the latest Burning River Browns show, tune into that. We have a lot of other fine contributors here to uh, the network. Always looking to considering future talent here with the Fanatical Elves network. And if you ever have an interest in podcasting, let us know here on the Fanatical Elves network. You can email us. You can, let's see, you can email me. I've got a email at jclepod at gmail.com. So you're always welcome to send us a question, or just send us a DM us, direct message. I'm an old guy, so direct messaging, that's something, DM us on one of our social media platforms, which would be fun. We're getting kind of into the whole TikTok and Instagram. We're gaining some more popularity. We really appreciate that. Those of you who are starting to follow us on TikTok. I know we just put a show out with Ethan, a little clip with Ethan Greenberg, our great colleague who does Going Nuclear. with his colleague Mike. They had a great take talking about Quinshawn Junkins, the Browns' lone draft pick who has not signed yet. He's the only unsigned draft pick from the NFL draft still out there. He hasn't signed, obviously, because he's in some trouble with the law. Got arrested a few weeks ago. Domestic violence issues there. Ethan and Mike were just talking on their show of Quinson Junkins, and is he going to be signed by the Browns? The question of can it be cut? Well, he's not even signed the contract yet, so you can't be cut if you're not signed. So what's up with that, and will it get done? I don't think anybody on the Browns organization had this on their bingo card going into the season, and how they're going to interact and how they're going to this is all going to be managed out. It's going to be very interesting. There hasn't been a lot of discussion about it since training camp has started over the last 4 or 5 days. So we'll wait. We'll see. There have been a few highlight reels of some of the other running backs like Dylan Sampson, the small in stature but fast as could be, the Tennessee uh, kid there. Tennessee, gosh dang it, what are they? The Tennessee. I'm drawing a blank. How could I be drawing a blank about Tennessee? I don't know the Tennessee Titans. Oh, Lord have mercy on my soul. All right, so Dylan Sampson's the guy. The other guy is Jerome Ford, who, yeah, he's our veteran, been playing for the team, playing with the team for 3 years. He has not been present yet at training camp. A little bit of a worrisome issue there. The Browns signed some kid off of the USFL team. I saw that on our X page. Some people were talking about it. Some kid with a weird, funky name with a 2-0 Tigo. Anyway, the kid played at Nevada for 5 seasons, had 3,900 yards and 20, 30 some touchdowns maybe in that 5 year career at Nevada. Not 4 years, but he played 5 seasons. Thus, he was not drafted in the NFL. Went to the USFL, and now I guess the Browns have signed him either earlier today or yesterday. So, not that I'm really excited about that. So we'll move on. It does me no good, and most of you as Browns fans seeing highlights of down in the with the Houston Texans and watching Nick Chubb run wild. Their other veteran counterpart down there, Joe Nixon, for the Houston team, has gotten injured, and there is some concern that he could be out for quite a bit of time. So my bet to my colleague Steve Gill of Nick Chubb having a phenomenal season, going over 1,000 yards, is still very, very strong. I feel very good about that bet. I wish I could have bet a little bit more than just 10 measly bucks, but I'll take the $10, Steve. I'll take the $10. I'm feeling pretty confident at this point. Might be wrong, but I'm telling you, this kid Nick Chubb, special cat, and the Browns. Despite I know that they drafted the two running backs, and no one could have predicted what happened with Quinshawn Junkins. So you can't change the course and do those sorts of things. And they let him go. They were confident enough. The team was confident enough that Nick Chubb would be, could be let go because they had these two rookies coming in that could spell the difference. Well, now you're down to one, and you have a Jerome Ford guy who still hasn't gotten in during training camp. Very concerning. Yesterday, the Browns offense, throughout social media land, was in a tizzy because the Browns offense looked like shit. I could have said crap, but I'll just call it what it is. They averaged 15 points a game a year ago, and based on a lot of the video that was coming out of training camp, there were a lot of mistakes. Now, one of the players that a lot of folks are talking about, obviously for many reasons, is Shador Sanders, the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, the fifth round pick of the Cleveland Browns. There's a lot of stuff out there in La La Land talking about Shador, a lot of folks talking about fans, even like me, who are a little bit peeved because Shador isn't getting reps with the first and second teamers. Now, my understanding is today he did get some work in with at least second teamers. Some I heard one report saying he got first team reps, but I'm not sure on that. He did throw several touchdown passes, but I think those were against second and third teamers. But it's a touchdown pass, and I know some of you are keeping score of and keeping track of how many passes he's completing. All these other quarterbacks as well. He is the talk of fans as far as quarterbacks. That's what they asked them at the local news yesterday is who do you want as quarterback of the Cleveland Browns going into this season? Most folks, they'll talk about Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco. Some even talked about Shador. But again, Shador is getting the the brunt of the media coverage. He was asked again 2 days ago, I think by Tony Grossi, why aren't you getting uh, first team reps? And Shador, like a very savvy, mature young man that he is, answered it very well and said, "That's not my job. My job is to go out and work and try to prove to people what I can do because I know what I can do with the team that I have." I'm looking forward to seeing what Shador can do. Obviously, we know the track record and the history of the Cleveland Browns. We know that this team has struggled immensely in the quarterback department. And there's a very good chance that Shador Sanders, despite what we're seeing right now on July 26th, is going to have much bearing on him being the starter in week 7 through 12. Who knows? But he's going to get in there and he's going to start starting games for the Cleveland Browns sooner than probably some would like and not soon enough for others. The saga of it being a Cleveland Browns fan continues as we debate and argue this. Dylan Gabriel, the third round pick of the Cleveland Browns, did or has been getting some reps with the first teamers. Obviously, that would suggest the front office and Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are favoring Dylan Sampson at this point of the competition between Shador and Dylan. There's still a month and a half before we play real football in September. And more than likely, Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco will get the starts starting in September. We've already talked about this endlessly. But right now, I think it stands that the coach thinks that Dylan Gabriel is better at this point than Shador. Now, some of you will jump automatically again to this idea that Shador was a fifth round pick and Dylan Gabriel was a third round pick. So obviously, he's the better quarterback. Up until the day of the draft, no one on God's green earth, including teams, talked about Shador being a fifth round pick and Dylan Gabriel being a third round pick and being better quarterbacks than Shador. So I don't want to hear any of that, but that's the way that it landed. That's the way that things are today. And that's why you see what you're seeing. Now, how much of this is because Dylan is the third round pick and Shador is the fifth round pick can be up for some debate. We'll see it. I'll let it play out a little bit longer. Obviously, we all will. We'll all have questions and ideas about moving forward. I again believe that Shador will be starting as the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns and that he will be given that opportunity. And he knows, and he said that as much as anybody else, that when he's given that opportunity, he knows he needs to take full advantage of that opportunity. And I believe watching this kid through college and the process and watching him now and the momentum that he has from just everything that he's done, this aura that he has, that's going to be a positive thing for this team and for him. And I wish him well. Now, am I favoring my conversation toward him? Absolutely. I don't believe that Dylan Gabriel is any more than probably a lifelong backup. You can you can correct me if I'm wrong if you want to go back and find this video 10 years from now and he's a superstar. Great. Kenny Pickett, not going to be a superstar. And Joe Flacco will be sitting on his couch in a few weeks after he retires. By the way, who was it that retired? The linebacker retired for the Cleveland Browns, and I'm drawing a blank on that tonight, but not good timing to have players quitting and retiring. Obviously, he got the memo that um, things are going to be a full go as the season got started here. So the linebacker decided to retire instead. And I'm drawing a blank. So before the show's over, I'll try to remember who that damn. If you know, send me a message if you're watching us live because it's late. It's 10:40. It is your Saturday night edition of the Johnny Cleveland podcast. The wanted to finish up here. I did have a trip. I went out west, and I just wanted to. I thought this would be a good segue because I've talked a little bit about the WNBA and some of the different players and some of the different attitudes and where that league is. And I've shared this out because, I have some background now with the WNBA, but I had a kid who played college ball and played against some of these players that you're currently seeing in the WNBA, like Asia Wilson. So it's been interesting. I was out there in Seattle, and one of the things I got to do in Seattle was attend the Seattle Storm WNBA basketball game with my daughter Mariah, which is pretty cool. And I will give it up to Seattle for multiple reasons. Some of you out there, for a variety of reasons, don't like Seattle. I don't want to get into that because some of you like to go that way for certain reasons politically. And I'd like to talk about Seattle itself and the sports town that it is. You remember the Seattle Supersonics? The Seattle Supersonics were an NBA team, fantastic organization back in the day. Their team was sent packing and became the Oklahoma City Thunder. If you go to Seattle today, you will still see a, a ton of Seattle Supersonic gear and apparel that you can buy. I actually was tempted. I know I'm a diehard Cavs fan, but the Seattle Supersonics had that cool sort of green yellow combo in their apparel, and it's a hot uh, thing there to wear that stuff. And um, so I was out there. There's a lot of that gear going on. The Seattle Storm have the same colors. They have the green and the yellow. So I went to the game. We had gotten there earlier in the day, so it was a full day. We had traveled from here from Columbus, got to Seattle. When you travel from east to west, you lose 3 hours. So we got there literally at 9 o'clock in the morning their time. So we got to spend the whole day downtown. Hit the Pikes Market down there along the river, not the riverfront, but just the ocean front. There they have the Ferris wheel, and they've really done a nice job of creating. They have the market now that kind of filters down into. They have the Seattle Aquarium, uh, Pier 58, I think they call it, with a variety of other fun activities to do and things to see. So those things alone are just reasons why you want to go to Seattle. It's a spectacular view of the city, and then you have the mountains that surround Seattle, especially to the east. To the west, you've got islands and some, to the north, some Olympic National Park and things like that. But it's an amazing area. So many things to do. Anytime you go out there, you're going to be able to do more things. There's an endless number of things to do. So great reason to go visit the Great Pacific Northwest. Got to go to this game with my daughter Mariah, the Seattle Storm. They were playing the Dallas Wings. And I've talked a lot about the WNBA and what I like and what I don't like about it. And I'm gonna what I what I'm gonna what I've already emphasized is it's a beautiful venue arena that they play in. It was packed, folks. It was sold out. Now Paige Buchner, the kid from the Connecticut University of Connecticut, she's a rookie this year. The WNBA draws a lot of people. There are a lot of fans with her jersey on of the Dallas Wings. She's a very popular character, probably the most popular character outside of Caitlin Clark or maybe Angel Reese too. So those three. So it was a full house, stacked house. Um, we got there a little bit late. Uh, had so many different things going on between during halftime and during timeouts. It was really a really good production put on for the Seattle Storm and really promoting, like for example, they were promoting the different women's sports teams in Seattle. So like they had the soccer team, they had the softball team, they have a professional softball team. So they had these professional other athletes show up. They had some previous stars of Seattle there as well. So it was really cool to see that. And that's the best part of what you're seeing right now in the WNBA. The league itself is losing, $40 million a season, but with the rise of Caitlin Clark, those numbers are dwindling, and the players they are filling these arenas up more than they have probably in the past. So that's good. The bad thing that we saw during this game was just the piss poor play of the talent, the supposed talent out there. If you watch the W or if you watch the NBA, you just can't compare the the NBA players and what they're doing to the WNBA players. It's not a fair comparison, though it if and that's kind of where there's this divide and where I find it to be an intriguing conversation because the play on the court was really bad. There was, and I don't know if it's because maybe do women basketball players play better or stronger defense than the NBA players do? Do women play basketball um, more with defense in mind than offense, where then now it's creating more problems for the other team's offense in the women's game in the WNBA? Could be. At least that's what my daughter, who's played a solid 4 years and really had the potential to play beyond college, would agree. As we were sitting there watching this, we saw a lot of sloppy play, defense that was it strong or was the offense just being sloppy, turnovers? And then the biggest problem is when the player then has a layup, an easy shot at the rim, or a 15-foot jump shot. I stopped counting. There were so many missed easy shots by players who call themselves pro athletes that it really is embarrassing. Now, I know that maybe it's not every game. And if I went to a different game or a different arena, maybe I would see something different. But I sat there for a good 3 quarters and it was mind blowing to see the number of missed opportunities that these teams messed up on offensively. It was bad basketball. It was really bad, poor execution. If you got a 15-foot look or you're 3 feet from the basket, you got to put the basket in the hoop. You got to put the basketball in the hoop, and that was not happening. Now, you may want to disagree with me and think that I'm being a little bit careless or um, opinionated, but in this game, at least, it was really hard to watch. It was almost like watching a really dysfunctional Cleveland Browns football team, which we've seen a lot of, um, play really, 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 really crappy football. These kids were out there, yeah, they were hustling and they were working, but they were missing so many easy shots. It was hard to watch. And after a point, it's like a player would be wide open, and this includes Paige Bookers and all these supposed stars. They were missing a ton of opportunities. So it was some bad basketball. If the WNBA, in my opinion, wants to become a stronger product, then these kids need to put in more time and effort at being better basketball players, better shooters. Um, it is about defense. I love defense. I love coaching defense. I love talking defense in any sport. I will give it up. I think the WNBA. I think that their game. I think the women play a stronger bit of defense than the men's game in the NBA. So I'll start with that, and that's what I did tonight. They have a stronger effort with their defense, but the offensive side of things has got to be stronger if this league wants to go anywhere, because it's pretty embarrassing when you don't see consistent offensive play and that ball keeps bouncing off the rim, or you're throwing up air balls, or you're missing a layup 5 times when you go to the for a layup 6 times. These are things that are taught to these kids when they're in elementary school, when they're in middle school, when they're in high school. The fact that they're not producing and doing that work means that these kids aren't putting in the time and the effort that they need to when they're younger. So it needs to start at a young age, and hopefully that will continue. But for right now, it was some pretty ugly basketball. Besides that, the whole experience was wonderful. I enjoyed going to the game with daughter, and hope to be back to Seattle soon, maybe. And I would really be a pro opponent of this. Bring back the Seattle Supersonics to the NBA. Seattle deserves another NBA team. All right, folks. I hope you have a very good rest of your Saturday evening. Thank you for tuning in here to the Johnny Cleveland podcast. You can listen to us on any podcasting platform, including Apple and Spotify. And thank you for watching us here on YouTube, on Facebook, on the X. Everybody have a great night. And remember, too, that's right, keep smiling. See ya.